My name is Ted Johnson. I've been a collector and historian for about the last 15 or 20 years. I have collected and put together a lot of Army Air Forces equipment to give people an example of what these guys had to put up with, and they had to take on board the plane with them when they would fly.
Right.
So I'll tell you a little bit about some of the things that I have here. These are the fleece-lined flight boots. They would wear these and the fleece-lined pants to keep them warm. If you're flying at 30,000 feet or more and you've got temperatures well below zero, you can imagine how cold it would be. This is a bailout bottle. This would have been, they were given the option of using this whether they wanted to or not. So some of the guys would use these lanyards in the back to tie around their parachute harness or like tie around their leg on their flight suit.
Okay.
And basically, you've got a pipe stem here. You put that in your mouth when you bailed out, and you open the valve, and this would give you a little bit of air to breathe until you got down to a lower level where the air was thick enough for you to breathe on your own. And so that's what that was for. That was used for that. These are what were called walk-around bottles. The planes had their own oxygen systems inside the planes that the guys would hook up to. But obviously, if they had to move about the plane or help one of their partners out, their oxygen hoses were not that long. So what they would do is they would grab one of these bottles. This is the D2 oxygen bottle, and this one held about 8 minutes worth of air for these guys. It's got a clip on the back of it here, where they could clip this to their harness or to their uniform, and they would plug into this, and it gave them about 8 minutes of oxygen so they could move around the plane easier.
Okay.
This one had about anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes of oxygen in it. And this was a little bit, this one also had the clip on the back, but it also has this to they put over their shoulder. Yeah. You also have the fleece-lined cap. A lot of times the radio operators, some of the other crewmen would wear these. All designed to keep them warm at that altitude. There were several different kinds of parachutes that were used during World War II. The two most common for the Army Air Forces, and especially for the bombers, were the backpack chute, which I don't have an example of here, and then there was also this one. This was called a QAC, a quick attachable chute. And what you would do is you put the harness on before you got into the plane. You could carry your parachute pack on board with you. If you had to bail, you could stow this behind your seat, and it made it a lot easier for the guys to move around because they didn't have the parachute attached to them. If you had to bail out, you would grab your parachute pack, and it's got D-rings on the back here, and you clip them into the clips here on the front. So instead of the parachute opening up behind you, it would open up in front of you. It was a little bit of a surprise to some of these guys because they really didn't give them much training on parachute jumping, you know. A lot of them got bloody nose coming out of the plane because it would hit them in the nose coming out of the pack. Consider bloody noses a lot better than the consequences. All right, so you got the fleece-lined gloves used by the Army Air Forces. This is obviously, most people know it as a Mae West life preserver or life vest. You put this over your neck, strap it in down here, and the reason they called it a Mae West, if anybody you're familiar with Mae West, the actress, she was a little buxom up top. Well, when this was inflated, it kind of looked like that, so the guys gave it the nickname Mae West. But it was inflated by CO2 cartridges that would go in right here. Just regular CO2 cartridges, just like you used in your air rifles when you were a kid. You put the CO2 cartridge in, screw that back on, and you had one on either side, one for the front, one for the back of the vest. And then when you got ready to jump, or got ready to, if you had to bail out of the plane over water, you'd pull this, it would activate the CO2 cartridge and inflate the life preserver. In the case that the CO2 cartridges didn't work, you had manual inflation tubes that you could use to inflate it manually, just blowing it up yourself. And we also got the B-3 jacket, which is fleece lined, all designed for warmth in the plane. Some of the other things I've got, they would have worn throat microphones. And the throat microphones, this elastic would go around your neck, and this would lay on your larynx here, your voice box. And that's how they used to talk to each other in the plane. The vibration from your larynx would block out all the other plane noises and make it clear for them to hear each other. Of course, you got headphones so you can hear the other guys on the plane. This is the A8B oxygen mask. This was used all throughout the war, in addition to some of the more modern masks that you see. This mask was actually so popular that it was used on into Vietnam, believe it or not. But this goes on, it's got a rebreather bag on the bottom. You could always tell the guys that flew frequently, because they'd be working so hard in that plane that they would sweat, and the sweat would actually freeze the mask to their face. They would have to reach up and kind of crunch the mask while they were in flight to keep the ice from forming. But you could always tell when they get off the plane, they'd have red marks around their face where they're masked. And the last thing I've got here, this is a can. This was what the bomb fuses were delivered to the airfields in. And the armorers would break these open, and the bombs would have a tail fuse and a nose fuse on the bomb. Both fuses were packed in here along with the wire that attached it inside the plane. And this is what they would use to, they'd open these up, and the armorers would arm the bombs prior to flight with the fuses. Also, people have asked, how do these guys use the bathroom up there if they had to go? A lot of these flights were long, sometimes 12 hours long. And they either went where they were, which sounds kind of gross, but it was what it was. They either went where they were. Sometimes they would take some of these empty bomb fuse cans up with them and put them in the radio room. And if they had to go, they do their business in the can. Of course, at that altitude, it would kind of freeze up almost immediately. Yeah. So it was like a big popsicle. And then when they would go to bombs away, they'd open the bomb bay doors, the bombs would release, and the radio operator would grab these for full and just toss them out and give Hitler and his boys a little extra present.
Perfect. Yes. Well, thank you. You have a great display. Thank you so much.
Sir. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Very nice. Thank you very much.